Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Margaret Abe-Koga and Chair of the Hewlett Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee, here with our Vice Chair, Supervisor Arenas. I'd like to call this meeting to order and want to welcome our new clerk, Jess.
Covering for
Welcome.
Cynthia, happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. The first item is called to order. We are both present, so we'll go ahead and move on to item 2. And before I do that, I should make the note, if you could please turn off or mute all electronic devices, including cell phones, that may interrupt the meeting. I would appreciate that. And I also would like to note that I have a hard stop at 11:45, so I ask for everyone's cooperation in keeping the moving along. And then, so with that, I'll go to item 2, which is public comment. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on an item that is not on today's agenda?
Pausing for Zoom hands. And there are no requests to speak on item 2.
Great, thank you. Then I'll close public comment, go to item 3, which is to approve the consent calendar. Any changes to the committee agenda? Supervisor Arenas, do you have any changes you'd like to make? Okay. Would like to request that we hold item 8 until our next meeting. It's quite a meaty item, and we have quite a few meaty items today. And then, would it be all right, Supervisor Arenas, if we put item 6 on consent?
Perfect. So that's a motion to defer item 8 and place item 6 on consent.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll second the motion. And do we need to take public comment on consent items?
We do need to call for public comments. Again, seeing no requests to speak on this item.
Great, thank you. Close public comment, and if you could do roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Arenas?
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries with all members present. Regular agenda, we go to our first item, item 4, which is to receive a report from the Department of Planning and Development relating to the 2023 Stanford University Community Plan. And do we have staff to present?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development, and I'm joined today by Jeff Bradley, who is Principal and President of the M Group, along with Senior Planner Marianne Mathau, who have worked closely with the county staff through the process of what is known as the 2019 general use permit that Stanford University submitted in 2016 and went through a process. We're going to present today on the 2023 Stanford University Community Plan, and we appreciate this opportunity to present. We'll first begin with a little background of the Stanford Community Plan, which we'll refer to as the SCP, and then we'll go into briefly some of the major policy discussions that are in the Stanford Community Plan that rose to require the county, at the direction of the board, to proceed with making changes to or amendments or updates to the Stanford Community Plan. The Stanford Community Plan contains 7 chapters that address various land use topics that you can see are listed here in the PowerPoint presentation. We're going to go through them very quickly. And just giving a little background on the process, the Stanford Community Plan was adopted in 2000, and before the update in 2023, it had only had received minor amendments in 2013, 2015, and 2019. In 2016, the Stanford University applied for a general use permit, which we refer to as the 2019 General Use Permit, or GUP. During the review process of the 2019 GUP, the county concurrently worked to provide a robust update to the SCP. On November 1st of 2019, Stanford University withdrew their GUP application. However, the board, at that time, the Board of Supervisors had recognized the extensive work that had been done and the need to continue to move forward on the updates to the SCP. At a meeting in February of 2020, the board directed the staff to complete this effort. And the result of that completion is the 2023, that effort is the 2023 SCP. So today, we're just going to present a little background on the 2023 SCP. It was county-initiated and county-led effort with specific focus on policies and concerns and issues that were raised during the processing of the 2019 GUP relating to housing, circulation, and open space. The update to the Stanford University Community Plan was adopted by the board October 23rd of 2023 after a multi-year process. This included robust engagement with the public, various stakeholders, student groups, surrounding jurisdictions, county commissions, community groups, and the Stanford University staff. At this point, I will turn the presentation over to Jeff Bradley, who will give, excuse me, a brief update on the housing, on 3 areas: housing, the housing policies, circulation, open space, and growth and development. That might be 4 areas. So Jeff, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Anchano. Jeff Bradley from M Group. Through the processing of the 2019 general use permit application and the update to the community plan, 3 main topics of discussion emerged. These 3 topics were ensuring that the housing needs of Stanford staff and students are met in a manner that does not reduce housing options for the general public of nearby communities or reduce the tax base that funds public services. Secondly, managing the circulation and traffic impacts of future development by extending successful past congestion management strategies while also providing a pathway for the university to continue to grow and evolve. And thirdly, protecting existing open space through preservation of the campus's academic growth boundary, which is highlighted in the growth and development chapter. Because members of the community and neighboring jurisdictions have consistently raised these topics repeatedly, the remainder of the presentation really focuses on these 3 major policy considerations. We'll begin with housing. These 3 points summarize the housing approach in the community plan update. The first is to provide all new housing needed on campus or on contiguous Stanford lands in nearby Palo Alto. Secondly, housing must be provided across all income levels representative of new Stanford staff and students related to new development. And finally, thirdly, all affordable units must be provided by Stanford. This means that Stanford cannot pay in lieu fees in replacement of constructing affordable units. This is a key point because under the 2000 general use permit, the fee program has assisted in the construction or rehabilitation of approximately 545 units. However, on average, these fees have only provided a fairly small percentage, of approximately 12%, of the necessary funding for those units. To develop these policies, we looked at where faculty and staff live based on Stanford-provided data. This map shows the distribution of faculty, staff, and postdocs throughout the region. Our major focus of the SCP housing policy update is to accommodate future university growth by requiring both market rate and affordable housing to be provided on campus. This approach improves the distribution of housing units within the region and also helps eliminate the need for long commutes, which in turn provides for reduced local congestion, reduced vehicle miles traveled, and reduced greenhouse gases, all consistent with county policy. The housing linkage policy requires that housing is developed concurrent with or prior to new academic development on campus. Its inclusion in the 2000 community plan points to a longstanding local concern regarding the area's jobs and housing imbalance. To facilitate the development of housing for Stanford affiliates in relation to future development, the community plan requires that a minimum of 75% of that housing be built on campus, the area in green, and provides some flexibility for the university to provide a maximum of 25% off campus but on Stanford land grants nearby in Palo Alto in the areas shown on the map in yellow. These are issues that have been consistently raised by members of the public and neighboring jurisdictions, most notably by Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and Redwood City. Although this policy does not address the housing needs for existing faculty and staff, Stanford can still choose to pursue housing developments outside of these Stanford lands that would serve existing faculty and staff. The linkage policy in the plan does not prohibit Stanford from building or acquiring housing elsewhere. It would simply not count towards the housing needed for net new development. Moving into circulation policy. Obviously, the university does not exist in a vacuum. On Stanford lands alone, there are over 72,000 jobs and students. This includes the university itself, the SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory, Stanford Hospital, Stanford Shopping Center, and Stanford Research Park. The city of Palo Alto has over 100,000 jobs. Any transportation policy to curb congestion must take a system-wide approach. The county has repeatedly heard serious concerns related to local congestion. To address this, the circulation policy approach is to build on what is working and adding new features to allow the university to grow and evolve. It maintains the very successful no net new commute trip standard. The plan added a new expanded 3-hour peak period. A new reverse trip standard was added. Inclusion of the state standard VMT, or vehicle miles traveled, and supportive policies was also added to the plan. Importantly, a continuation of trip credits to encourage expanding successful TDM programs, area-wide bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and a path for successful compliance for Stanford is also part of the plan. Housing and circulation obviously impact each other. Remembering the housing linkage policy, the construction of needed housing concurrent with academic development mitigates transportation impacts. The housing policies and circulation policies reviewed today, will work together, providing all needed housing on and near campus would also help Stanford meet very critical transportation-related goals. Together, these additional standards will allow the university to continue and grow and evolve as long as they're able to mitigate and reduce future increases in traffic and local congestion directly and through reduced area-wide trips through transportation improvements and incentives that earn trip credits. The growth and development chapter will now be highlighted, specifically the section of the chapter that supports the retention of the community plan's academic growth boundary, also known as the AGB. The AGB is shown here on the hatched line, bisecting the campus in the figure on the left, dividing the academic campus of 1,800 acres, shown in orange, and the foothills, 2,200 acres, shown in the green. The 2000 plan established the AGP location for a period of at least 25 years, a major milestone at that time. Pursuant to the 2000 plan, modification of the AGP required a supermajority or a 4/5 vote of the Board of Supervisors to alter or change. There's been strong support consistently for the effort to extend the AGP to 99 years, and we want to recognize that input by highlighting the related policies and implementations, as well as the 2018 Sustainable Development Study supplement, which informed this direction. The findings of this study directly inform the growth and development policy that extends the AGB for a period of 99 years. The study showed that Stanford could grow nearly triple its current size and still stay within the AGB growth limit line. In closing, the community plan's core policies discussed in this presentation ultimately are intended to facilitate development that can support the continued success of Stanford, its growth, and achievement of its core mission to solve complex problems and contribute meaningfully to the world. That concludes the presentation part of this, and staff and consultants are available for any questions the board members may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's get a public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
There are. I have one card in chambers. Brief pause for Zoom, not seeing any hands up, so I think we're holding at one.
Just one, okay. We'll do is it 2 minutes?
Sure.
Whitney McNair, and I'm the project executive for Stanford Next. That's the university's long-term plan to meet its future academic, housing, transportation, sustainability, and infrastructure needs on existing campus lands. Our work is anchored in the project's core principles of succeeding together, growing purposely, being a leader, preserving and protecting, and driving innovation. These principles reflect Stanford's values, the region's expectations, the county's priorities, and the university's long-term stewardship responsibilities. I'm really happy that Hewlett's taking the time to receive this presentation of the Stanford Community Plan from staff. The community plan policies are critical to our project. Our goal is to craft a proposal that benefits the larger Bay Area, county, surrounding communities, and Stanford. We're focused on a process that helps ensure that Stanford can remain a global leader in research, innovation, and education while fostering meaningful, shared, and enduring community benefits and partnerships. I believe the county shares this goal. During the community plan amendment process, we identified certain new housing and transportation policies that, when taken together, add barriers to new housing production. We look forward to working with the county and community to ensure that the policy framework allows shared success related to housing, transportation, academic research, and scientific discovery. We also look forward to discussions with the county as we start to craft our application and believe we can develop a proposal that focuses on the needs of the county, the community, and the university, and that supports the community plan's core principles of compact and efficient urban development and conservation of natural resources. We have started our community outreach efforts, and we have a website, stanford.next.edu, and we hope that our team's in the audience should you have any questions of us.
That concludes public comment.
All right, thank you. Close public comment. Bring it back to the committee. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any questions or comments?
Listen, I know that this is a lot of work that needs to get done to ensure that development is growing in a way that is thoughtful and strategic. And as one of the other districts that has the most land, as well as yours, I'm very cognizant of what we need to do next. And I'm really pleased that Stanford has begun to have a group that is made of stakeholders to bring folks in, and I'd love to just talk with them about that offline a little bit. But thank you so much for reaching out, for making sure that we are informed, and I look forward to seeing how this evolves. And really, for now, those are my comments.
Thank you. Yes, so if I could just add a few comments. First of all, thank you to Mr. Bradley and the entire team for coming out today. This is a very appropriate time, I believe, to have this presentation. I know we anticipate Stanford submitting a new general use permit application sometime this year, so this is very helpful for us to get things going. I do have, and I appreciate the areas of focus. I think they're the common areas of housing, traffic, growth. I have a few questions. I know this is going to be ongoing, but I guess I'll just put them out as my specific focuses. One, in terms of housing location, the 75% on campus and 25% contiguous land requirement. I saw the map, but it was, actually, the map did show the contiguous, so that's the 25% area, is that right? Okay, great. And I know the rationale of concentrating housing around the campus I believe, obviously, we talk often about just commutes and shortening commutes. But I think it's the next slide over. I noticed where the jobs are, and the jobs are, some are like even a little further off campus. Oh, and then this too, where faculty and staff live. I mean, clearly there's a focus around Stanford, but, you know, I noticed also San Jose has a large population of folks who live there. So it sort of drives to my interest and, you know, the question I have about the in lieu fees versus requiring housing to be built on campus or right near it. I think things have changed in the last few years. As you know, we had our Measure A housing bond measure of 2016. We're nearly expended in that funding. I know in my city of Mountain View, we actually required built BMR units, inclusionary zoning to be built, but that's actually dried up the city's affordable housing funds, which we leverage to be able to build other projects. So I guess I am interested in exploring in lieu fee option in light of the changes in the environment right now. I know the issue is always like, how much should that be? And that, you know, that's, I think, up for negotiation to make it comparable or worthwhile. But, you know, we have affordable housing needs throughout the county, and we're looking for a funding source. So I do, I'm thinking about, you know, this perhaps, could this be an opportunity for that? And then in terms of the reverse commute trips, I know we dealt with this too at the city level, and one of the challenges of frankly building housing near jobs is that you create people living and then they have to go outward for their after-school sports and whatnot. So there's some challenges to that reverse commute inclusion of that in traffic mitigation. So I was hoping you could maybe elaborate on that a little more, how you see that, envision that reverse commute inclusion affecting the outcome.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Abacoga. The reverse commute trip is really in response to a growing sense of frustration around the traffic impacts and congestion during the peak hours coming in and out of the campus with the surrounding areas in Menlo Park and Palo Alto. And historically, the county general use permit and community plan focused solely on peak hour trips coming in the morning and peak hour trips going out in the afternoon, early evening. And the idea was to start measuring the reverse trips to be able to establish a baseline, which is similar or same methodology that was done with the main commute direction trips, and work towards stabilizing those because like you said, with the concentration of mix of uses of both housing and academic development and the surrounding growth in Palo Alto and surrounding cities, an argument could be made that the reverse trip congestion was approaching the limits, the levels of the regular commute direction, and so to put some limits around that in terms of its growth. And so the county has always been very consistent about not trying to make any policy or regulation that would operate on a retroactive basis to things that Stanford has been doing for years. It's not great ground to be standing on legally, and it's not fair. And so we avoid that assiduously. So the baseline for the reverse trips would be the status quo, no matter how high that is. And then
Okay.
the only restrictions around growing that would be directly related to new development. And so it establishes a base level that's considered acceptable because it's existing and we don't have the legal tools to
Curtail it.
go back, or the fair logic to go back and try to undo that. So it's really based on the going forward amount. And there's been a lot of new TDM, traffic demand management
Yes.
programs worldwide that have started focusing on those reverse trips and providing incentives, like you said, for people who are now going out to do their lifestyle stuff, shopping, picking up kids at daycare, exercising, all that stuff, and work with Stanford to provide a program that allows for extensions of things they're already doing, like the free Marguerite bus shuttle that goes all around and is free, and that if certain conditions are met, that can generate quite a few trip credits and incentivizes that type of sort of pro-public, pro-beneficial outcomes that could result from a policy like that.
Yes. I know that in the transportation world, when we talk about trip reductions and TDM, we often, there's a lot of reference to what Stanford's done. I think
Right.
many folks feel that Stanford's really kind of hit the top peak and all that. So and that would be, I think our interest is to continue to move in that direction. Finally, in terms of process and timing, what are the thoughts about when, and maybe this is for you, Jack, about when we might hire more staff or consultant work to help us move the project through our county process?
Yeah, we have a team that has been assembled. We have 3 planners within our department that have been assembled to work when the application comes in. But I'll defer to
The deputy candidate.
Deputy Cal, I can't even remember her name, Sylvia Gallegos.
So to expand on the director's comments, we have added more junior staff to support the analytical work. But to your question, we do have, I think, a purchase order with M Group, and I want to acknowledge Stanford University today because we have executed a funding agreement with the university, so they will provide resources to allow us to hire staff, but really principally consultants, to support the work pre-permit submission. Because we can, at the time of permit submission, then our regular fees would apply. And so they're trying to accelerate and help us be able to advance the work. In addition to that, and this is getting a little beyond your comment, we do have regularly scheduled meetings with the university dealing with the current permit, but also planning for the future permit. So we will be lining up the consultants that are necessary to execute the work in a timely fashion.
So does that mean that you've already started the process? Like, do you have to do an RFP for the consultant work?
I'm going to defer to the director.
Yeah, we have not an RFP. We didn't go that route. We, what's the right term, Sylvia?
Sole source?
Yes, sole source, thank you. Yes, sole source. Because we needed that historic background, but the team we've assembled have been working with Stanford staff and with Stanford for some time, and so we're confident that with the consultants' assistance, we're going to be able to support the processing of the application.
Okay, so we don't need more consultants?
Well, we'll have to see, because we have to see. We're working with Stanford on their pre-work, as the deputy executive has stated, but I'm not at a point where I can say exactly how many staff. We have 3 staff in our office that are part of the Stanford team, but and as Sylvia Gallegos just said, we now have a consultant on board to assist with the pre-work. But once Stanford submits their application, then we're going to know what we need to progress it through.
Got it. All right. Thank you. Supervisor Diaz?
Yes, I come from the city, of course, you all know this, where we had a lot of development. And because we had a lot of development, there was plenty of study sessions to help us understand the cost of development, and everything that factors in, especially the impact to our communities once development actually happens. And sometimes we inadvertently create impacts that are fabulous, and then some that are not so fabulous. And we know from from history that there are policies that have kept certain groups in certain parts of this county as well as throughout this country. And unfortunately, those social determinants of health contribute to the track and the well-being of, and really determine almost if a person's going to be successful in life or not. And there are, real life examples, especially on the city council, where one of our members of city council, there are 5 Latinos when I was serving, and one of them said, what made a difference for me was that I lived in a city that was very well resourced. Now, I lived in a part of town that was not well-resourced, and I didn't have access to mentors, and I didn't have access to role models. I didn't have access to a lot of things that other folks may have to facilitate a track that, keeps you very much in line and to lead to a successful outcome. But what I did have was a lot of grit and determination. But there is not many of us that make it out. And because of that, I know it's very important for us to keep affordable housing in places that are very well-resourced, because there is a network of people that contribute to that person's development and opportunities. I personally have lived that. I know what the research says, and I am a little nervous that, oops, I don't know what that means, but
Oh, our
you gonna
computers are
restart?
gonna restart.
sorry, there's something that came up on everybody's computer.
TSS.
It was like, restart now. No, please do not restart now.
Everything. It's always
We'll try to get that back up. TSS, can you clear that pop-up and bring it back?
Thank you. Although we all always need a restart. Who can decline one? And it's within the comments that I'm making is that there are folks who actually do need restarts, and the restarts begin with living in a place that has affordable housing, but it's very well resourced. I know from working at the city of San Jose and working directly with a lot of development that we did our part. San Jose has done more than their fair share. And I don't know that all of the cities within our county, and I'm not saying Stafford directly, but I'm just saying all of the cities in our county have done their fair share of bringing in affordable housing and integrating them into their community. I'm not proud of this, but I will admit it, that my district that I represented, District 8, had 2 affordable housing sites, one of which is a product of the Villages, which is a 55 and over gated community. And the affordable housing was just down the road. I mean, very lovely. But those, and then another apartment complex. And those were the 2 affordable housing sites in my district. Everything else was naturally occurring and mandated by obligation, really. So if people wanted to afford to live in my district, they needed to pile up 2-3 families per single family homes because we didn't have a lot of multi-housing. So because of that, what I'm going to ask for is us to be very measured about how we integrate affordable housing and how we are going to look at in lieu fees. because even the city of San Jose that has a lot of development and mainly had in lieu fees, I've seen what the result is, and that is that not very much affordable housing gets built because you have to wait until that amount gets accumulated, and then you have to wait for an affordable housing developer to be interested, and then you have to wait until if you get the credits, and there is a lot of waiting. And in the meantime, I think we could look at some other options. And so I'd love to ask to see if there's a study session that we can take a look at that can allow us to understand how in lieu fees would actually play out in our county system with the funding that we have available, with the opportunities that we have, and then and really explore the different kind of affordable housing levels. I saw the map that you talked about where I think there's a lot of folks who are living in San Jose who work in Stanford, and I completely understand that logic that, you know, we would be serving those folks if we had affordable housing in San Jose. And could we have more? Absolutely. My district could have more, right? And I always stepped up and part of my district, but my district wasn't meant to grow. And actually, this is one of the parallels that I have with Stanford is that I worked really hard to ensure that the development policy that was restricting our district in growing was transitioned out, and so I get how important development is. I'm not against it, but I do want us to be measured about the in lieu fees and where affordable housing will go, because that means we either have an opportunity to change generations and to give many people who normally wouldn't have that opportunity an opportunity to integrate into schools that are of privilege and to have a different track. And so I don't know that I can, at this point, really say that I would be supportive of in lieu fees. But I'm open to a study session, and I'm open to discussing that.
Yes.
Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Definitely, I think there's a lot of pieces to this that we still need to look into, peel the onion. I guess my ask was just really for us to explore, and frankly, if there are even other options to address the affordable housing needs that we have, that we look at all the options before we decide what's best. Great. Thank you. Anything else? If not, I guess we take a motion to accept the report. Is that right?
Motion to accept the report.
Thank you. I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson Arenas?
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll move on to item 5, which is a report on from OSR relating to the sustainability report updates. And I believe, is that Casey? And I should say Office of Sustainability and Resilience is OSR. Try to.
All right. Good morning, Chairperson Abe-Koga and Vice Chair Arenas, county colleagues. My name is Casey Hill. I'm the Acting Director for our County Office of Sustainability and Resilience, and I will give a very brief update on some achievements and progress relating to our Sustainability Master Plan, and also at the request of the committee, a few updates relating to our food system work plan as well. And I'll start with an update that relates to our priority area, which is the integrated natural resource management. And that's an update on our urban forestry master plan, which will be finalized in spring 2026. So just a couple months from now. And as a reminder, this is a plan that provides a framework for municipalities and the county for our urban forestry programs. And going forward, the plan will be a focus area of our Santa Clara Valley Urban Forestry Alliance, which is a work group of our Santa Clara County Climate Collaborative. And that is the work group that will really be supporting the implementation and aligning our various initiatives across agencies and jurisdictions. The next update that I'll provide relates to Goal 2 of our Sustainability Master Plan, and that is our focus on a prepared and resilient county. This is an update, as you're aware, perhaps, that the County Office of Sustainability and Resilience has been awarded a $2.6 million grant through the Senate Bill 1 grant program, the Ocean Protection Council. And as a reminder, SB 1 directs the state to provide funding for local and regional governments to develop sea level adaptation plans and implementation projects. So this is a really exciting and timely opportunity for us to meet a state mandate with a really strong multi-jurisdictional approach and address sea level rise impacts, which of course we've seen firsthand recently through the confluence of the flooding and king tide of the New Year weekend. Completion of these planning efforts really positions us for implementation funding through the state as well for projects that are going to build on existing efforts and bring those forward in the county and in neighboring counties in partnership. I wanted to also note that we're targeting June for our full annual sustainability report update to FGOC and to Hewlett. And then next, I'll just give a few brief updates from our food system work plan. And the first relates to our food system kitchen cabinet. And as a reminder, this is a working group that's composed of county department representatives whose work really touches on food system, various aspects of the food system. Our next meeting is scheduled for February, so it's also coming up very quickly. And that's where we'll be reviewing and finalizing our 2026-27 action plan related to the food system work plan. The next update is about the Food System Resident Advisory Committee. So we're entering year 2 for our Resident Advisory Committee, lovingly referred to as RAC. This is a group of 10 community food leaders that's established to really, with support from the Public Health Department, I also want to note, to work in tandem with our kitchen cabinet and think about how to define problems and solutions that relate to our food systems issues. They've been active in many different ways. I'll just name one recently, that the Resident Advisory Committee partnered with the Office of Sustainability and Resilience staff to encourage households and small food business operators to consider induction stovetops. So this is a really exciting collaboration recently, and we're looking forward to more ways to work with the Resident Advisory Committee to connect them, both the homeowners and food business operators, renters, to rebate programs and other sustainability resources. And the final update I'll share relating to our food system work plan, again at the request of the committee, specifically around our micro-enterprise home kitchen operation showcase, what we're referring to it as. This is a reminder about micro-enterprise home kitchen operations, are an acronym MICOs. These are food service operations that can operate from a private home, private residence, small business operators. So in partnership with our environmental health branch of the Public Health Department and our CEO Administrative Services team, we're exploring the opportunity to connect some of our county staff with the opportunity to order from MICOs here at 70 West Heading and to engage with them directly to become more familiar with the program and learn how we can support these small food entrepreneurs. And again, just a note that we'll be targeting a late March for our full food system work plan update to the Board of Supervisors. And with that, I will welcome questions and have a couple of my colleagues here too as well if there's anything that they can help answer.
Great, thank you so much. I'll go to public comment first. Any member of the public wishing to speak?
I see no request to speak on item 5.
Okay, thank you. We'll close public comment. Supervisor Arenas, do you have questions or comments?
No, but I can make a motion to approve the report.
Great, thank you. I'll second the motion and just thank you for the update. Look forward to the next one, especially on the food systems. And please take a roll call.
Vice Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We put 6 on consent, so we'll go to 7, which is to receive a report from the Office of Supportive Housing relating to shelter options in South County including the exploration of options at the Arturo Ochoa Migrant Center and on Santa Clara Valley Water District-owned land. And we have KJ, will you be presenting?
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Chair Abikoga. KJ Kuminski, Director for the Office of Supportive Housing. I have a brief verbal report for you this morning summarizing the report back. Starting with our investments in South County, just wanted to provide a little bit of background because it does, what we currently fund, there's some changes with the programs that we currently fund that I want to highlight as well. In terms of shelter in Gilroy, we're the primary funder for all shelter beds in South County. We're the sole funder of the Gilroy Armory, as well as the cold weather shelter for families at Ochoa. We currently lease the Gilroy Armory from the state, and we've heard recently from the state that they are looking to sell that property. So in terms of our priority for South County Shelter, we are in the process of doing our due diligence to assess that property for acquisition, as well as looking at other options for replacement of those shelter beds should that be required. For the Ochoa Migrant Center, we currently use this property during the cold weather months for families. The report includes some history of previous engagement with the state to be able to with our request to expand that utilization. There are two limitations. One is the percent of the site that we can utilize for cold weather shelter. And the other is a restriction on commingling populations. For 180 years or 180 days of the year, that site is used to house migrant agricultural workers, and the state has limited our ability to commingle unhoused families and the agricultural worker families. So the opportunity there may be to engage with the state on potential for commingling while the property is still available. But I do want to note that recent legislation passed that directs the Housing and Community Development Division of the state to conduct a feasibility study to take that those migrant centers year-round for agricultural workers. So again, if that, pending the feasibility study, if that site does become year-round year-round utilized for agricultural workers, we would also be looking at a potential replacement for the cold weather shelter program in South County. And then in terms of the work with the City of Gilroy and Valley Water, the Water District and the city have expressed interest in a safe sleeping sanction encampment option in Gilroy. In the report, we provide our previous experience, a description of our experience with sanctioned encampments, including the Hope Village that was in San Jose, and some of the challenges that we faced with that type of program. So it is not currently a program type that we at the county and the Office of Supportive Housing fund. However, we have robust outreach programs in Gilroy, including the South County Community Services, that are helping those residents on Valley Water property, on city property, move into shelter and into permanent housing. In fact, I just asked the team today to look at the number of folks that are currently in the process to permanent housing, and there are 40 households, over 40 households that are engaged with South County Community Services that are in the process for intake and referral to permanent housing. And then just lastly, the opportunities to expand shelter to better serve people who are unsheltered in South County is a significant part of the conversations that we are in with the City of Gilroy, with the City of Morgan Hill, with others in South County in our community plan to end homelessness planning process. So we anticipate and are working with them on a regional priority plan and anticipate including options that we could work together on in the coming years to expand services for residents in Gilroy. And with that, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's get a public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak?
Confirming no request to speak on item 7.
All right, thank you. We'll close public comment. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, KJ, for the update. It just seems like there isn't a lot of options for folks who are unhoused in Gilroy. There's not a lot of facilities, and as we know, Gilroy is very restricted in terms of their resources. I'm conflicted because I think about the good that Ochoa Camp can do during the winter months and expanding that, because I think we're very limited in the number of people that are allowed on site, and it could make a real difference during this very cold weather. But I am also very cognizant that there is a lot of year-round agricultural workers that may need this resource. Although I wonder if it's one and the same, and so I'm wondering if I know that your office did some really good work in connecting with the folks who have been, and from what I understand, will be moved again. They were moved from the Valley Water properties in November, and then from the Arroyo Circle soon after that, and now they're off of 6th Street. And the city has confirmed that they will be removed from there. And so, this is just a game that we're playing in terms of moving folks, and it without any real solutions. And I'm not, it's not completely our responsibility. Of course, the city of Gilroy needs to look at the resources that they have available to provide some very concrete, long-term answers. The only thing that I'm concerned about that impacts Gilroy that usually doesn't impact any other city is that the agricultural workers typically tap into some of the motels that are available. And so those folks who have the H-1B visa, thank you, Edgar, H-1-2 visa, usually have been found housing at the motels. And so then we're going to be in conflict with agricultural workers and then the unhoused community. And so I'm trying to figure out, is it one and the same? Are some of those long-term, year-round agricultural workers the ones that may be unhoused? Because I know that you did your assessment, and I know that there were some folks who had some severe disabilities, and thank you so much for attending to those folks and making sure that they weren't out in the cold that way, because I think the ones that are most fragile and vulnerable, you really supported and took care of right away, and so I really appreciate that. And I know that if there's any possibilities, you'll feed them into our system. For sure. I'm just wondering, for folks who find Gilroy a home, they're not going to find a lot of options, right? Because we don't have any. And I wonder if we can take a look at the Armory and see, can we purchase the Armory, right? Is there an opportunity for us to do that? We've been playing also this game with the Armory for quite some time. When I came on board, there was a lot of advocates who were fighting to keep it open during the winter, and thank you for your support on that. So that would be one option that I would love for us to take a look at. Can we look at the Armory, because we're going to lose two sources. One is the Ochoa Camp, and one is the Armory, and so there isn't a real replacement, because most of the motels, we would take a look at motels, but I think motels are being utilized for a lot of the ag workers anyways. And so, and maybe not all year round, but maybe during high seasons, they're utilizing the motels, because that's what in their H-2 visas, H-2 visas, H-2 visas are being used. I'll get this right sometime. How about their work permit visas? I'm going to say that. Anyways, Does that make sense, KJ? Because I think, I don't want them to compete, but maybe we find that the motels are vacant during seasons where our unhoused need a place to rest the most, and that's during the winter months because we don't have a lot of work in the area during that time.
Yes, Supervisor, thank you for the suggestion. Certainly, we too see the acquisition of the Gilroy Armory as a big opportunity, which is, the state had put it on the surplus lands availability, but shelter didn't qualify for that purpose. However, now with this change in the state indicating, this was also a change in state law that allowed them to sell property without legislative approval, and the state has indicated this is one of those that they plan to do so. So we certainly want to look at that. We know some improvements are needed too, so really want to fully assess that, and as well as the motels, as you said, and we'll certainly add to that analysis, looking at who is currently utilizing those motels, if there is overlap with the agricultural workers, and be mindful of not taking from one population that we are trying to serve with housing to serve another, yeah.
Right, or increase those rates, right? Because those subsidies that those coordinators get, I'm sure. Anyways, the agriculture workers will get less, is the bottom line is, right? For either food subsidies or rental subsidies, and they might be asked to cover some of the housing costs sooner or later, right? And so we have to make sure that we don't create that. The other thing that I was thinking about was something last week when we did the ribbon cutting for this cardiac diagnostic team that is being put together for St. Louis Hospital. One of the administrators there told me, we often have folks who are unhoused who will come to the emergency room and just utilize the emergency room. And she wasn't saying this in a critical way at all. I thought maybe she was telling me because, it is a costly way for us to serve the unhoused. But she said, we give them blankets and they stay here, and in the morning, they leave. But this is a very expensive way for us to serve the unhoused. And inadvertently, this is what is happening, right? And so it's draining our system in a way that we can't control, right? Because we can't deny somebody medical care, especially in an emergency room. Obviously, they will do their part and accept the folks who need it. But this is a very expensive way to serve this community. And so I'm hoping that we can build maybe a plan that is specific for South County that takes into account not just Gilroy, but Morgan Hill and San Martin, because they have very unique needs, different from the rest of the county. Nobody else has agricultural workers in the same way, right? And they're not competing with motels in the same way. Anyways, and so I'm hoping that we can build something like that just for our South County folks, and then bring in those mayors and council members so that they also play a part, of course, in the larger plan and system. And I know that we have a very good opportunity to tap into Gilroy at the moment. We have a mayor who's stepping into this unhoused issue in a way that I hadn't seen. As you know, South County sometimes has very conservative leaders that either they just don't step into the same safety net services that we offer. And so I just think this is a really great opportunity for us to do that, and I think you already know that. Anyways, I thank you. I want to end with just thanking you for all the really great work that you've been doing, and know our system is restrained by money, all kinds of different things, laws that are outside of our control. But I know that you've done your part in supporting Gilroy, supporting the mayor, and just our unhoused community, as well as the stakeholders. And so thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to move the report. And And with that, I'll ask for that additional specific unhoused plan for South County, and just include some of the things that we discussed.
Supervisor, could I ask for clarification?
Go ahead.
We're really excited about the deep level of engagement of city staff in Gilroy and Morgan Hill in the community plan process, and we're looking at a regional plan. If we incorporate the comments and direction into that regional planning process that is underway, would that be
Perfect. I didn't realize it was going to be a regional planning process, so.
We're looking at a broad community plan for the entire county.
Right,
But we're
right,
also
right.
working with North County and with South County to develop regional plans that will
Perfect.
focus on the specific needs in those communities.
We're aligned.
Great.
Thank you so much, KJ. Okay, so that's my motion.
Great, thank you. I'll second the motion and just offer a few comments. Thank you again for the report. And starting with the regional plan, yes, looking at the point in time counts, I think I shared some of it was positive, but I was concerned about specific cities that had an increase despite the many efforts that are happening. And I think Gilroy was one of them that increased, as did Mountain View. So just since then, I've talked with staff about how I think we do need to focus in on certain localities because they have specific needs. And I very much appreciate this opportunity to learn more about South County. And yes, you're right, the agricultural worker community is not as large in other parts of the county, so there's definitely specific needs. And South County, and I know the West Valley cities are working together to come up with their own plan, which is great. And then for North County, our challenge is the oversized vehicle dwellers and
Yes,
the
I've
increase
seen that.
there. So definitely there's like different nuances. And so I've been also asking that we focus in on certain geographical areas that might have similar issues, but unique to that geography. So appreciate that. I'm very supportive of us looking at purchasing the armory if we can. I had note here that there's the Senate Bill 855 that prioritizes local agencies to purchase before they go to private developers, and there might be a timeline or a deadline of that. Is that coming up quickly? Like, will we be able to act quickly to look at doing something if we can before the deadline?
Yes, so the state has not yet put it out for acquisition, so we anticipate, and they've indicated to us that they will be doing that early this year. So
Okay.
we're watching and already in touch with the state and have made them aware that we're very interested,
great.
and we'll move as quickly as we can.
Great, that's great, thank you. So yes, I would support that. And then I appreciate Ash for coordinating with the Valley Water District on outreach efforts. The more that we can work together, the better, I'd say. So certainly, if we have this opportunity, I hope that we can act on acquiring the armory. Thank you. So with that, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Vice Chairperson Arenas?
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga?
Aye.
Thank you, that carries.
Thank you so much. So we will hold on item 8 until next month, and perhaps that'll be the opportunity to talk further about the regional plan on affordable housing. And we'll go on to item 9, which is to receive a verbal report from the Office of the County Executive relating to agricultural worker housing. And this is
Good morning, Sylvia Gallegos, Deputy County Executive. For this report, I'd like to touch upon a few topics. The first one, and this emanates from the initial referral from Supervisor Arenas a couple of years ago, we are finalizing the very extensive work in the Department of Planning and Development with respect to transforming our land use permitting processes and also our building processes. It's been a long, exhaustive process. I liken it to fixing the plane while you're flying a plane. And we plan to bring the final recommendations to the committee next month. And so we look forward to presenting our recommendations after all of this exhaustive work. We know that the county is experiencing, budgetary shortfalls, and so in parallel to that, we have been working on a plan to be almost full cost recovery with respect to our activities, and thereby be able to make the investments, for example, in IT, that are necessary to effectuate some of these proposed improvements. In the area of the Office of Supportive Housing, and I think you all know this, but the Magnolias project in Morgan Hill, there's a groundbreaking ceremony taking place on February 13th, which everyone is excited about. 8th and Alexander, I understand that OSH is working with our Facilities and Fleet Department to plan for the demolition of vacant buildings, and currently the project is in the community engagement phase. The farm worker housing rehab and electrification pilot, you'll recall, that's a federal earmark that we received through the sponsor, Representative Lofgren. The board did give us in a late fall delegation of authority to execute an agreement with HUD. We are, however, and we did initiate discussions earlier this month with Representative Lofgren's office, because right now the scope of the application of these funds, it's about $1.7 million to remediate code enforcement violations for ag worker housing. We're trying to broaden that scope for more ag supportive structures, because we know through our separate process, which is the rural zoning update, that in discussions with the community, there are property owners who've sort of self-identified themselves as being out of compliance with the current code requirements. And we're hoping that with this pot of money that we can solve more problems in South County with respect to code compliance. And so the initial discussion has occurred with Representative Lofgren's office, and so we're continuing on that process. Then, let's see, lastly, with respect to legislation, I think we're seeking an opportunity to meet with your offices to discuss potential legislation to support ag worker housing and just housing in general. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's go to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak?
Thank you. Confirming no request to speak on item 9.
Great. We'll close public comment. Supervisor Arenas, do you have any questions or comments?
No, except to just to thank you and for all the updates, and love to get involved in that discussion that broadens the agricultural supportive housing remediation. That would be important. That's all.
Thank you.
And I'll move I'll move to accept the report.
Great, thank you. And I'll second the motion with thanks to staff as well. A roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Arenas?
Yes.
Chairperson Abe-Koga?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries.
Thank you. We'll go on to item 10, which is reports from our various departments. I'll just look over, see if you have any reports. Just raise your hand. No, no. Yes. Mr. Loff. Oh, yes.
Good morning, Chair, Madam Chair. Just really quick, wanted to highlight, you'll find in your desk our new 2026 seal, which celebrates, you notice a color scheme. It's the 250th anniversary of our American independence. I just wanted to share something with all of you real quick. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, I saw this here on my light. Looks great. Mr. Lofgren, did you have something as well?
Sure, just a few updates. Todd Lofgren, Santa Clara County Parks and Recreation Director. The Parks Department is pleased to report that we had a successful conclusion of the Fantasy of Lights event at Vasona Park. We had over 19,000 visitors over a weekend for the walkthrough event, and over 21 event nights in December. We had over 20,000 vehicles drive through the park, so that was exciting. We're thankful to the over 350 community volunteers that helped us throughout the month. Also, just wanted to highlight a couple of our wildfire prevention and land stewardship efforts. We continue to do pile burns in Sandborg County Park in December, and as well as this month. And of course, we'll be following our prescribed burning practices. And so, subject to weather conditions, the amount of activity will be dictated towards that by that. Also, our park rangeland management program officially kicked off our grazing season in November. And so we had our annual meetings with each of our grazing partners. This collaboration identifies specific projects of improvement across our parklands and the grazing prescriptions for each year. And so we have joint conservation and fuel reduction objectives for the season. Our trail days work continues each month in the parks, and in 2025 we had over 2,500 hours of volunteers, over 300 individual volunteers at 6 different county parks, so that's exciting. If anyone wants to sign up, we do that every Saturday each month in our county parks, and they can go to the Santa Clara County Parks website for that. And lastly, we're proud to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 19th. Our park staff and community volunteers will be planting trees to beautify Joseph D. Grant County Park.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I was able to go to the Festival of Lights. Thank you for the invitation, and really impressed with the production, quite a production. And then we tried to get tickets to do the drive-through, but they were sold out. So, oh, yeah. So we might have to look at how we can expand. Yeah. We're only counting.
We'll make sure that doesn't happen next year.
But thank you for all the great work. Any other departments? Yes, KJ.
KJ Kaminsky, Director for the Office of Supportive Housing. Very briefly, in addition to the Magnolias groundbreaking, I just wanted to note that we're also looking forward to 2 other events. Next Friday, we will be celebrating the Tamian Station Transit-Oriented Development grand opening. And then on Wednesday, February 11th, we will be celebrating the groundbreaking of the Santa Teresa Apartments, and are also coordinating with D1 on that. So, thank you.
Great. Wow, that's a great.
I just want to say, if only the cities could follow. Wow. Nice.
Great. Any other reports out? No? If not, I'm sorry, did you have any questions or comments on the rooms? Public comment then. Any members?
Thank you. Confirming no request to speak on item 10.
Great, thank you. We'll close that item. Thank you. And with that, we are at adjournment. So thank you so much to everyone. Our next scheduled meeting is for Thursday, February 19th at 10 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors chambers. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Go Niners.